Good morning. Thank you very much. I want to appreciate and thank the American Legion Post 7 for their efforts again this year. It's obviously a great day to celebrate the lives of so many who have gone before us to preserve our freedoms, our liberties, sometimes things we take for granted each day, but of course every day should be Memorial Day, and each day should be Veterans Day for those of us that are in this community that have watched and learned from the sacrifice and the love and the care and the devotion that so many have placed before us. Obviously, we read in this morning's paper a list of names, so many that have passed in the recent conflicts fighting for our nation. But in the end, we look back on Memorial Day all the way to the early days of our country, over 235 years of effort that's been made to protect and preserve our freedoms by men and women who loved liberty and loved our country. Of all nations that they came, they found that the American flag was one that there was a symbol that represented them. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness were things that they believed in, things that they came to know, and no matter what ethnicity, whatever religious tradition they held above it the nation and the effort that was being made to preserve freedom somewhere in this world. So many people ask, what does death in a war mean? What does death on the battlefield mean? Many of us civilians will never know. We'll never experience it. We'll never see it. We'll never be part of anything that would end and take a human life. But there was a famous answer given hundreds of years ago by John Donne. He said, "No man is an island, and any man's death diminishes me, because I'm involved in mankind, and therefore never send us to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee." So once again, it's encapsulated in the immortal words of John Donne, but in the end he means that there is no more life to give to their loved ones. There's no more time to give to their platoon or their troop, their squadron, their fleet. There are no more chances for wisdom to pass on to their fellow men, their fellow comrades in arms, or those that will come also behind them, their grandchildren or their children, for they will never have them. The wisdom and the service that they've given for all of us comes as an intense reminder of our own mortality when we see those crosses, when we read those names in the paper, and when we see those remains returned to our nation for burial. It's an invitation for all of us and a reminder for all of us to refocus on what really matters in our communities and in our country. That it's a country worth serving, it's a country worth dying for, but it's also a country that respects and holds life dear. It's a priority for all of us. The American right of a Memorial Day celebration of the lives that were given for our country, the merciful rituals that play out on this day across American legions like yours to the VFW halls and the churches and the other public places, the public grief that's expressed for the more recent deaths, the public sympathy for the new widows, the new children that'll go without fathers or mothers that are in their place. We hear from theologians, scholars, broadcasters, even politicians like myself, and it'll never match up to what they gave us, not with words, but with sacrifice. I again believe that the folding of the flag at a military funeral, my own father was in the Navy, and the flag ceremony where they handed that folded flag to my mother was finally what brought his life to closure. It reminded all of us in our family how we should be proud to know that our father served in World War II, that he laid the groundwork for democracy in Europe and in the East, and also preserved it here at home. It was a special program. I, because of his service, am a member of the Son of the American Legion, Post 109, that's in Corona Day, Tucson. We're always grateful to be part of any service that other legions provide. But I'm especially thankful to Nancy Turner and members of this august group who've asked me to speak today. I'll also remind you that today is a feast day in the Catholic Church of a very famous warrior. Her name was Joan of Arc. She was burned at the stake for heresy. She was persecuted by her own church. Sometimes that happens. Persecuted by their own government. In fact, St. Ignatius was jailed twice during the Spanish Inquisition. Obviously, St. John of the Cross was locked up by his own Carmelite order for years. But there had never been a burning at the stake, a persecution by their own church to the death until the Joan of Arc case. It was later turned over to the bishop and then to the Pope, who exonerated Joan of Arc, and she's the saint today, made a saint in the 1900s, the patroness of France, and as well as the protector of radiomen and operators. Which brought me to, when I read that this morning, it brought me to remember that there was one death this year that should be remembered by all of us. One of the last of the code talkers from the Navajo Nation passed away this year. There's only, I think, a few left that served in that capacity, and I'm grateful for their service, their ingenious, their methods, but especially their tenacity and the efforts that they made. So in the end, we remember, of course, May 30th isn't Memorial Day every year. St. Joan of Arc isn't going to be remembered at every Memorial Day service today. But she did give us one thing, the hope to stand up and take your faith for what it is. Believe in what you believe, stay strong in that faith and that belief, and protect that faith and belief no matter what the consequences may be. Thank you again for having me. God bless all of you, and God bless America.